I just want to say thank you, God, for this difficult time. And you give us Valley Church to help us in coronavirus. So I will really appreciate and give me my your faith. Thank you so much, God.
When I look back on this past year, I must admit there are many different and mixed emotions. I've lost 2 relatives overseas to COVID. Both my sons lost their jobs. One had to be relocated to Johannesburg with my grandchildren, and the other is in Europe. Maybe possibly in lockdown, either in Austria or possibly Berlin. So I'm waiting on news on that, and it just reminded me of how everything changes overnight. One announcement can change so many things in our lives, and it made me look much deeper within at this time at what was real and what was constant, and what you could just rely on and trust, and really it made me just so aware that God is the only one who ticks all those boxes. God is the one that is the constant, the one who is faithful, the one who is just, the one who is true, and just a great reassurance that He's in there in all things. And I just wanted to share one particular little incident in lockdown. I'd done a great big spring clean, and I'm telling this because it's Thanksgiving month, and I had accumulated a pile of papers about the size of Mount Everest, and I put them securely at the bottom of the dustbin, and then put the rest of the garbage went on the top, and out it went into the street. But somehow I was prompted that there was a document that I needed to find that morning, and I looked and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I thought tomorrow, oh my goodness, maybe it's in the bin. I didn't know whether I could bring myself to actually go through, because I knew that I'd torn up all the papers because for security reasons. And anyway, I looked over the wall. There was the bin, which had been opened by people coming along down the street, and everything was just tipped out, and the peelings and everything was just a big mess on the road. So I went out and I thought, I can't be upset about this. These are people who are struggling, and their needs are so great that they have to resort to this. Again, God's working with attitudes and thoughts, and I thought, I'm just going to clear this all up. So I did, put it in the bin, just couldn't even be bothered to go and check with the papers and walked away. But half an hour later, I got a prompting to go back, and as I looked, the bin still had not been collected, but somebody else had been and into the bin and ransacked it, and it was even in a worse condition. It was strewn all over the road. But I thought, I'm being tested, but but nonetheless, just cleared it up and thought, it is what it is. And then as I put the last bit of garbage into the bag into the bin where all the papers now are wedged firmly at the bottom, I glanced down at the road and I just saw this one piece of paper just lying there on its own. And I bent down and picked it up, and there it was. The very document, the very piece of paper that I was looking for. And I remember thinking, Lord, now you're showing off. Oh, you are gracious, God, you really are. And so I just thought, yes, God is in the big things and the small. And if you don't see Him in the small, then you don't get to see Him in the big. It is amazing. And it was with this in mind, I suddenly thought, well, I have much to be thankful for, because God is actually with me in all things. And so I thank God for my family, my home, my children, and I thank Him for His presence daily, every day, in not just in my life, but in everyone's life, and that He's always there, and He is the one constant. So I just say thank you, Father, for who You are, and You're in all the situations, big and small.
To ask what in this lockdown where has God touched your heart, and where you see His promises, because I know you've had a difficult time.
This is the most difficult time of my life, but I would want to thank God for providing and protecting us during this pandemic, and for him to continue protecting and providing for us.
Yes.
Yeah, it has been a very difficult time for everyone, but God, as He always does, always provides and looks after His people.
He does. He does. Amen to that, brother. Amen.
Hello, Valley Church.
Hello, Valley Church.
We're going to share our story, which has been amazing, amazing God story right from the start. And yeah, we'll just.
Erin is a bit prepared to tell you now. We just did a 10-minute video before.
Are we starting again? So for a while, I had been single and trusting for a husband, knowing I wanted to get married. I wanted to, wanted to trust the Lord with all of it, and knowing that He would choose the right husband for me and bring him on my path. And got to a point where so there was a few different things that happened together, but part of the story is I was speaking to a friend about just intimacy with the Lord, and he encouraged me, or like challenged me, to do 21 days of praying in tongues for 20 minutes, which I took up the challenge. And that was really interesting. I was over winter holidays, and I remember thinking how challenging it was to find 20 minutes in the day alone to myself. And yeah, just to give that time to the Lord, and just to not looking for anything in return, but just as an offering, basically. And and it was amazing. On the 21st day of doing that, I was at a conference in the day, and there was someone needing an activation about what is it that you are maybe processing with the Lord, or if you have questions, or you have an issue that you want dealt with. So yeah, I had brought up this not knowing, like wanting to know or wanting to figure out what's happening, why haven't I found my husband yet, and I was impatient. And yeah, I really just felt the Lord saying, trust me with him, I will give him your hand, and there's nothing you haven't done or nothing you have done to delay it, or just trust me. And I'd had words over the years, and God was raising up this man for me, and I would respect him, and just like a lot of sort of confirmations and prophetic words. But anyways, that day that happened, and I just decided, right, just laying it down again. And I went home that night and actually went on an internet dating, just like I had been on it for like a week. A friend had encouraged me to start the profile, and she had helped me with that and got me on there. But it was pointless because you couldn't really speak to anybody. You could send a heart to someone who you fancied, but they could send a heart back. But unless they were a paying member on this app, then you couldn't really connect. And I remember thinking on this evening, oh, this is so pathetic because it's pointless. You don't even speak to the people. So I was kind of a bit more brazen and just like heart, whatever, if I saw. So I remember seeing a face that I was like, oh, that's a nice, open, lovely smile. And his name was Bonfire Heart. And I liked it. And then miraculously it came back saying you can send him a free message. And I was like, what? Because you can only do that if they're a paying member. So Pierre happened to be a paying member, and he can tell you his side of the story. But that's how we connected, and managed to get in touch with one another on that 21st night of me praying in tongues for 21 days. And
so what happened to me is I actually went to a Healing Through the Bible study course that ran for 3 days every weekend, about 3 weeks prior to that. Us connecting on this Zusk thing. But and I actually met friends there, and they actually prayed for me to meet the woman of my dreams and my partner in life. So they really said that we really feel that we need to pray for you, and they did. And then they said I should be suspecting something and somebody, or meeting somebody, because they believe that God will hear their prayers. And so time went by, and I actually came to Cape Town, and with a friend of mine, and I stayed in Camps Bay, which is obviously in close to Hout Bay or something, because these apps work in a way that you actually link up with somebody or match with somebody. And at that time I wasn't really on Zeusk looking or anything like that.
That's the
and
name of the dating app.
Zeusk is the name
We
of the
didn't
dating app.
recommend it. To
So, basically, how I saw Aaron's message is actually, it was the end of the month or something, I can't remember, but another debit order went off and I actually cancelled the thing. And I went on and I just looking for a way to unsubscribe from this thing, and then I saw Aaron's message and I was like, oh wow, hello. And I saw this girl on a boat with Finley. She had his sunnies on, and it was actually a black and white photo. And yeah, and then we started chatting and we never stopped chatting after that.
And your friend before you came to Cape Town?
Yeah, so
actually
I had a
said,
friend, Nadia, and she said, well, and I said, she knew that I was going to Cape Town. She said, well, you're going to meet your wife this weekend. I was like, Obviously, I only
kind of
found out, it
true.
was kind of true. I only found out afterwards that, yeah, we connected.
Anyway, so we connected online, hadn't met in person. Saw that he was in Pretoria, I was here, but we started chatting, and yeah, just an evening turned into every day, turned into 2 weeks of non-stop chatting and phone calls, and then like, videos, and I couldn't sleep or eat, or it was just crazy times. And I already knew, like from the moment when we connected, I felt like this is my husband. And yeah, I had found a sneaky way to find out if he was a believer and whatever. And he said, "Oh my word, I love Jesus." And yeah, so anyways, and we yeah, got to know each other a little bit like that. And then he decided, no, he can't wait till, as originally planned, a month he would have to come down and meet me. So 2 weeks after initially connecting, shame, I think he must have been so excited he bought his flight tickets, but messed up the booking and was supposed to be leaving from Owatambo and booked from Lanseria, and then a whole, anyways, had to buy 2 tickets, which actually kind of answered my prayer of, Lord, my husband must pursue me.
Yeah, see, that's pursuing.
Shame. And anyways, and after dealing with a whole lot of nonsense at the airport and them trying to stop him with a weapon because he bought Finley a
bought Finley a
lightsaber.
lightsaber, and then they said it was a weapon, and they wanted to take it from me, and then
Had to charge him extra
they charged
baggage
me
item
extra baggage items, and eventually I arrived in Cape Town.
at like 9 o'clock in the evening, as opposed to probably like 5
Yeah,
o'clock
it
or
was
something.
supposed to be like
So
3
we
o'clock.
got here, and I met Pierre, Finn and I met Pierre at the airport, and he spent the weekend here. And Saturday morning we had a beautiful day. It was like, what have I been doing in Pretoria all my life? Because he saw how wonderful Cape Town is. And we had a lovely breakfast together and had a really special moment on Silvermine, just overlooking the whole of
It was
Constantia
a very godly
Valley.
encounter we had there.
And we
like
just had
prayed
jelly legs and had to
yeah,
sit down and
drunk
giggled
in the spirit,
and
I
just
think.
really felt God's presence, and it was just really precious. And then, yeah, on the way home also just chatting about things and the things that maybe sort of the Lord had been speaking to me about. And yeah, again, just like felt God on it, and got home. And then I had a bit of a strange experience where I just started freaking out and thinking like, what are you doing? And you don't know this person. And you know, part of me was like, this is what you've been praying for, and part of me is like, what are you doing? And I'm not the greatest communicator, but Pierre could sense that something was up, so he's asking what's going on, and I was like, well, I don't know, and I was like, you know, maybe you must go home, and was really starting to just lose it a bit. And then, well, you can share what happened.
So I said, okay, no problem. So if you would like me to go, like, I understand that, but I just really knew as well, like, if this isn't it, then I'll never get married. And I thought to myself, but anyways, so I've had a jewelry store before, and my sister, actually, I spoke to my mom and my sister before I came here, and I said to them how amazing this has all been, and I really like Erin, and I'm coming here to meet her, and yeah, it's just, she's been blowing my mind. Like, you know, I've met many girls in my life, not through Zeus or anything, but I've known a lot of other girls and so on, and I never had that spiritual connection actually. And I just sat on this very table here in Aaron's house, and my sister actually gave me 3 rings to take with to give to her, if like a promise ring, if you know what I mean. And yeah, must be a godly thing, because I never thought of that. And it was actually in my jacket pocket, hanging here on the hat stand. And Erin was busy freaking out. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to sit here in front of her and just say to her, listen, I'm going to leave. When was it? It was Saturday. It was the Sunday. I said, I'm going to leave on Sunday. We take it slow. We see how things go. And, you know, if you feel it shouldn't work, then it doesn't work. And if it goes, what do you have to lose? What do we have to lose? And yeah, actually, and God, and Erin was busy freaking out, and God is just like, in my head I see ring, 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 and I'm like, are you crazy? Like, how can you try and give Erin a ring when she's busy having a freak out? But anyway, so
Ready to send him packing.
yeah, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to listen to God, and I just went and I picked a ring out of there, which is this little ring, that little ring, and I said, you know, and I looked at it in the
And
eye.
by the way, the other 2 rings were just not me. So this was my perfect ring, and the other 2 not that worked.
And I just sat on this table and I said to her, listen here, I spilled the beans, and I said to her exactly how I feel, and I really do believe that she's the woman for me, and you know, can I give her this promise ring? And then she said, what? Is this an engagement ring?
Yeah. I don't know who proposed to who there.
Yeah, and then I was like,
Okay.
okay, if you wanted to be an engagement ring, I suppose. And then
And
it
then
was
with
like,
me, everything that was going like, oh, what's going on, and freaking out, everything just came together and was like still and peace. And as he was just talking, he was just sharing from his heart and like babbling,
looked like this.
basically. I had big, yes, wide eyes.
Wide
And he
eyes.
was just speaking from the heart about how he's never been so sure about anything, and chatted. And I was just like, oh my word. So we just decided. And then we were
promised engaged.
super excited, and
then we jumped in the car, and then we go celebrate, and we're like, do the things,
and then
this
Table
and that.
Mountain was closed.
Yeah, and then
so
we had to go
fish
to
and
Camps
chips.
Bay and have fish and chips on the beach. So that was good. Finney was with his dad, I think.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Finney was his dad. And yeah, and that is how it happened. And then I was like, oh my word, because I'm really traditional. So I'm like, babe, what about your dad? I needed to ask your dad. And I'm like freaking out because I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you can't tell your parents now you're engaged. It's like crazy. Like, I need to speak to your dad first. And she said, yeah, but we can't keep it from them. And so, like, so guess what? We phoned that evening.
Sorry, I just had to do this.
And Debbie and Peter sitting on the couch in the UK. And we're like, hi, I'm Pierre. I'm engaged to your daughter.
Almost. Wasn't quite as bad as that, but
almost.
it was almost.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a shock for everyone, and we had a little bit of a bumpy ride for a few months, dealing with people's reactions and not getting, not a whole lot of people being excited.
But at the end of the day, it was the worst thing for me because I really am a respect, like, it's really important for me to do it the right way and do things the right way. So I was so shocked. Everything happened so quickly and like, yeah, amazing.
Took us both by surprise.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I think it was just a journey then of trusting that
we had a lot of...
we'd heard the Lord and that we really felt this was the right thing, and quite a few sort of just normal challenges and things, but it really brought us, I'd say, really brought us closer together and quickly in that initial few months. And I really saw, yeah, I think how Pia was just so willing and ready and there to just fight for me and love me, and yeah, we decided we'd made the commitment, so it was not difficult to stick to that, and yeah, things fell into place. Then we went away on holiday in December, and then decided that we'll come. So we got married in January, which thank you Lord that happened that way, because we wouldn't.
Yeah, there was COVID
known
and
with
whatever.
COVID what would have all happened. So, and it meant that my brother and sister-in-law and kids came from China, and they ended up subsequently being stuck here with us for for lockdown and spending 5 months in Cape Town, and that was just amazing time as well. That I don't think will ever happen again. So, and just in the way God provided as well. Pierre had an incredible, just huge, the hugest, your most biggest, right, record sale in that paid out in December while we were overseas, the month before the wedding, literally like just when we needed it, and really
God provided. So it's
just
just for
over and
everything for
above.
our wedding, everything was sorted. We still, got help from Aaron's parents and so on, but most of it we actually paid and was able to pay with some of that money that God blessed us with.
And I got given a dress the moment I spoke to, I was sharing with a friend about what had happened, and this was actually before I'd met Pierre, but I just said to her, I just know that this is my husband, and she said, oh, I've got a dress for you, and I was like, what? And because I'd really also said to the Lord, like, I don't want this to be all me. And when I was, even before I met Pierre, and I was kind of like dreaming about, getting married or whatever, and I was looking on Pinterest, and you can go down the whole thing of there, what it must look like in your dress. And I was just like, do you know what? And I've heard other testimonies of friends and just of how it was a real God story, and God provided every part of it. And I said, yes, God, and I want that. I want it to be your story, and you to bring, and it was amazing when I was chatting to this friend out of the blue the next day, and she said, I've got your dress. And I was too scared to try it on for a few weeks, but when I did, it just fitted perfectly like a glove. And I was just like, wow, Lord, like he went ahead, and really have to say it was, looking back, I mean, it was kind of a crazy leap of faith and a crazy spontaneous, but it was just so the Lord. I just,
yeah, definitely still the
His
same.
grace
It's like
over it and over us, and just the acceleration that we felt as a couple, and I mean, getting married later in mid-30s, and I really just, yeah, it's for such a time as this, and yeah, it's just been an amazing journey.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you for all your prayers and love and
Yes,
support,
thanks for everybody's
everybody.
support and
And
love. And
yeah, I just want to encourage anybody out there. God's always busy, and
yeah,
you never know what's gonna
never
happen.
know.
Lots of love.
Right.
I'm really thankful for a really, really healthy pregnancy, and that God just removed every little bit of anxiety that I had that came with this pregnancy. So last year we had a miscarriage, which kind of makes your next pregnancy after a miscarriage quite stressful or more filled with anxiety, especially before you go see your gynae, where they actually confirm the actual pregnancy. And I remember the one day, I don't know, I'm not sure if it was the day of the scan or a few days before the scan, I was really anxious and going, oh no, it's going to be like the last time, and it's going to be a nothing, or there won't be a heartbeat, or I was just filled with all this anxiety, and I was busy trying to get out of the front door and get like Noah to school and get to work on time. And Noah was going, look mommy, there's a rainbow. And I was like, what? It's just the mountain. And then I looked properly, and it was actually a rainbow. And I really felt like God was just saying, I'm faithful. And it reminded me of how after the miscarriage, God was like, there will be more babies after this one. And it was like, God is faithful. And when we went for our scan, there was a heartbeat, and there really was a baby, which was really awesome. But it also doesn't remove all the fear that comes with every scan, especially with COVID. I had to go to every scan by myself. David couldn't come with me, and it was quite nerve-wracking to go do this by myself. And I just remember one of the days before the scan, the verse from Psalm 20 verse 7 was going through my mind, and it's, some trust in chariots, but we trust in the Lord. And that really carried me through this pregnancy, because it was also marked as a high-risk pregnancy because of Noah's birth, because of the preeclampsia, and my gynae was worried about everything around that. But this pregnancy has been really healthy. There's been no preeclampsia. there's been no complications, and everything was just awesome. And we got to the end of our pregnancy a couple of weeks ago, and we have a really healthy little boy, and God's just been so faithful in how he's kept all his promises and answered all our prayers of not having preeclampsia and having a healthy full-term pregnancy. And God's just been really, really faithful.
Let's see his face. Sleepy.
Dave.